So let's get into the newcomers, right? There's been so many new shows that just popped out of nowhere. I mentioned Titans earlier. We'll dive into that a little bit more, but that kind of popped out of nowhere, and there's a few more around the corner. I know Foundation is one of those shows that I think starts maybe this Friday. I'm very excited to watch that. But the first of it is C, Apple TV C, starring Jason Momoa. You know what? I didn't do my research. Let me name a few more people in C because I believe. Woo! A sneeze. We got a sneeze. Does that mean it is September 2021? Does that mean it is the fall season that's coming around? Okay. So we have C, and why did that cast not come up on Google? It's because I write in C Apple TV, and when you write in C Apple TV, it's like, oh, do you want to see everything that's on Apple TV? No, I want the cast of Apple TV. So Batista, of course. Actually, I don't really know most of the actors that are on the show. Wow, I'm seeing for the first time how Tamaki June actually looks. Okay, so let's not even dive into the cast. C is incredible. like, just to start off, it is a show about blind people, right? And it's obviously the premise of the show. But the fact that it's a show about people with disabilities is not a thing, because blind people are the majority of the world. But if you take it out of that and you take it into our world, it's obviously a show that is highlighting the resilience and the strength of blind people, of disabled people everywhere, and showing that because you have a disability or something of that nature, you can still be the baddest ass mofo in town. And that's what Jason Momoa is, right? Jason Momoa. He is ill, he's blind, and he's a killer, he's a father, surrogate father. Like, he's the Jason Momoa that you would expect, and he's a blind man. I love that it's in the future, but it is run down. There's been a few shows like that this year. Sweet Tooth, similar. That's I think my favorite. What was that other show? That other HBO Max show about the aliens, Raised by Wolves. Raised by Wolf. Like, I love a show that shows the future. The movie starring Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, that just played was also the same. Reminiscence. I keep cutting myself off. Excuse me. I'll finish the statement that I'm trying to make. I love films that take place in the future, but everything is run down. Everything is broken. That very Mad Max, Fury Road, cyberpunk era, Blade Runner era. It's my favorite genre that there can be. And C is a whole new another level of it, because the technology is not there at all, because it's about blind people, so the technology is not what's important to them. With the way that they live their life with the natural resources was incredible. And it started off as one show and kind of zoomed off into a whole nother show, which I didn't expect, but I'm down for it. I'm still enjoying it. And I know it's a show that premiered 2 years ago. Season 2 just premiered now, so I'm watching Season 2 live. It's always interesting when you get into one of those shows, because you actually realize how different the actors look. You see, from one series finale to the other series premiere, how much time really spent in between, where somebody who watched the show live is not going to notice the same highlights and the same subtleties that you know. See, great show on Apple TV. I watched I'm on episode 4 of season 2, so I'm hoping there's at least 6 more episodes of it that has made my Friday nights. Now let's get into Titans, the show which I really started off this episode talking about in the first place. Titans has been such an experience, because about a month ago, I watched Long Halloween, and then I needed more of that DC. I needed more of Gotham. I needed more of Batman. Robert Pattinson's Batman is right around the corner. The director is going to have his event in about a month or so as well, where we're going to get more reveals of it. We're going to get the trailer for it. So I'm kind of, itching for Batman. We just had Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. So I dove into Titans like a superhero would, dove and landed in the superhero stance. And I watched it straight, season 1 to season 1 and season 2, back to back, every day, finished it in 4 or 5 days. And I loved it. There are moments that are so CW and that is probably the worst compliment I can ever give to a show. I mean, the worst criticism I can ever give to a show is that it's a CW serialized bull crap where you just have to fill 22 episodes. It has its moments like that. But for me to acknowledge those moments and still see it as a viable show, with interesting characters, with interesting storylines, and all of the above, I'm in. I'm all in for it. I'm invested. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm literally in the moment thinking about it, I'm just realizing how different it has changed from the first season to this season. It has changed drastically. Some characters are gone and haven't even really been addressed, and then there are new characters in it that have completely replaced them. Once again, a show that's very much highlighting on mental health, the disabilities of one, trauma of another, and that's really what the best parts of it is. It's not so much the superhero things that they're doing, right? It's not the highest budget show. It doesn't have the best visual effects in the world, but what it is doing, it's addressing the trauma that goes around what would happen if you lived in a life like that. And I'm all here for it. Heels on Stars, the show about wrestling television starring Stephen Amell, is exactly the same thing. It is about the trauma, the life of living as a wrestler. You see the Latino World Order flag behind me. If this is all you know me for, then you don't know I do Cuz Silent P Said So, which is a wrestling show for Seriously Cool. That is on my wrestling content. Last Wednesday, I went to my first wrestling show since the pandemic, my first mainstream wrestling show since the pandemic. Lost my mind and screamed my lungs out. And this Wednesday, 2 days from now, I'll be going to another one, which I'll be getting even crazier in because it's an even bigger show. And I'll be going with people. And Heels, it's all about the drama of what a wrestling show, of what a wrestling federation looks like. And it's so spot on because this week in the world of wrestling, there is controversy around Ric Flair about the actions that he has done over the last 2-3 years in the wrestling world. There has been so much of the Me Too movement, people being fired, people be coming out with their truths about experiences that they've had in the industry. And Heels is hitting all of these topics back to back in terms of a little small federation, in terms of a little small business, in terms of a small little family. But it's hitting all of the relevant spots as it's still happening in this world. And as a wrestling fan, the one thing you understand is that the world is crazy. It is nuts. Insane things happen. But people don't care. People don't look into it because they're like, oh, you're just doing that fake wrestling thing, and they disregard it. And in a lot of ways, it is the best thing that could ever happen to the wrestling industry, because the fact that people don't give it any credibility means that it can kind of slide by doing whatever the hell it wants. And Heels is a great example of that. I'm not a fan of the music. I don't like the theme song. It's not made for me. Obviously, it's a Midwest or a southern thing. Not for me. I could almost take every episode and remix the music soundtrack of it, and I'd probably enjoy the show a little bit better. But if that's the only thing I gotta say bad about it, kudos. Genuinely had no idea I was gonna like it so much. Was just giving it a chance because it was a wrestling show. And even during the first episode, I sat there cringing at some of the lines. But by the end of that first episode, I realized that I was worked. And as a wrestling fan, for you to work me, I was damn impressed. Because not only is it like watching a good television show, but it's also like watching a wrestling program where they're playing with the tropes of a wrestling program. Genius. Great idea. And now the name Heels also makes so much sense. Moving on. What If? Marvel's What If. We're going to dive more into Marvel. We're just going to talk a little bit about all of the things that are coming for the rest of the year and how exciting of a fall and beginning of winter it's going to be. But What If? 6 episodes in, out of 9 episodes. As a comic book reader, as a comic book fan, it's awesome. Like, I always, since I was a little kid, I never understood. Why can't we just have a world where a bunch of things happen? Like, treat them like the comic books. Why can't I have this Spider-Man world happening and this Spider-Man world happening at the same time? And it was always a money thing, right? It was always an interest thing. It was always about the eyes of the viewer. People are not going to go out and watch 3 big Spider-Man movies each year made by 3 different studios. But with Disney Plus, with live streaming, we actually have that ability now because people are not going out to the theaters. People are watching this back at home. And if you don't watch it, if you're not one of those avid watchers, then it doesn't matter because you can still go see the big Hollywood film and you're not out the loop. And if the rumors are correct, what they're going to do is if they're going to take characters from Multitude of Madness or Multiverse of Madness, or if some of the characters from What If are going to be put into the Multiverse of Madness, that's what I meant to say. If that's going to happen, it's going to give people even more of an incentive to go back and watch it. So genius. All the commercials, all the trailers are pushing this big link up, this big meet up, and I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know if it's. I mean, they've teased it so much that of course you have to do it, but I was just happy getting What If episodes. 23 individual What If episodes. So the fact that it's gotten to a point where we are now gonna link up together, it actually worries me a little bit, but Marvel knows what they're doing, and I'm sure they're going to treat us right. They always do. Well, as of recently, they always do. Speaking of treating us right, HBO always delivers. I mean, that's why HBO, Disney Plus, right? That's why these Netflix, these companies, these media companies, these entertainment industries are at the top of all of these lists, are the things that I'm talking about on these shows, because they're the people who are creating the best of content right now. And Scenes from a Marriage, starring Oscar Isaacs and Jessica Chastain on HBO Max. 2 episodes have come out. I was only able to watch the first episode. Oh God, I'm single, if you were wondering. Damn, this is a show that would be so uncomfortable to watch sitting next to a significant other. It hits all of the hard parts of a relationship, all of the, oh my God, it makes my stomach hurt. It is uncomfortable to watch. It's great acting, great storytelling, but damn it is so unenjoyable to watch people, to watch the hard parts of love. It's the hardest things to understand, the trauma, the gray areas, the sadness, the hatred, the relapse from all of that, the recovery from all of that. Those are not pretty. And what Scenes from a Marriage seems to be like, it's like you want to see every not pretty part of a show, of a relationship. You want to see every single part of a relationship that's not pretty on one show, here it is. So I'll get to episode 2. It only premiered last night. Battle. I had to stay away. I could not watch 2 episodes back to back. And another show, and the last show that I'll really be talking about today, is Squid Game on Netflix, which is a Korean show that is bonkers, out of its mind. Korea has such a great trope about how they make their television shows, where they start, a lot of the time it's the lead character is an idiot, a bumbling idiot, a fool. So, but it also has quirk and has charm. So you watch this guy who is an absolute idiot go through all of these horrible things, and even when you're seeing the worst of the worst, and what I mean worst of the worst is hundreds of people be killed one by one in front of your face. Even when you're seeing that, there's still a light feeling to it, because the character that you are really observing it through is lighthearted and has a good heart. It is. But if somebody was like, hey, you want to take all of our childhood television shows, all of our childhood games playground games that we play, stick games, hopscotch type games, and was like, how can we add murder to it, and how can we add poor people to it? That's what they did. But Korean shows always have such great nuance to it that it's told not in a way that any single American show would ever be told, unless it was a shot-for-shot remake of a Korean show. They have a completely different just outlook on storytelling. The tropes that they follow are not the tropes that we follow. And just that distinction is great. Alice in Borderland, which I want to say was also Korean. I hope I'm not wrong. Very similar, but extremely different shows. So different, not alike at all. But I am at halfway through episode 5. I was so tired last night. I only wanted to watch episode 3. But when episode 3 ended, I said, I can't stop here. So I had to go on to episode 4. Episode 4 ended even crazier than episode 5 did. And I had to just see what the rest of that was. Still ended up watching a half an hour of it before I was like, my eyes are dead. I'm going to bed.